Let's make some fancy egg on toast so we don't have to deal with the creepy barista around the corner. G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Sam's Home Kitchen, where I bring to you budget-friendly recipes with sustainability in mind. Before we talk about food today, I just want to draw your attention to what I have, what is really amazing on my couch. My partner crocheted this gorgeous couch throw thing, and she was joking that she wants 2 seconds of fame, and so here we go. Leave a comment down below, does it fit in with the vibe and what she should be making next to fill this frame? So coming from a cafe manager background, it just never makes sense to me for someone to be going out and pay 12 to 16 bucks per dish to just get egg on toast, something that we can just so simply make it right at home. And with Valentine's Day approaching, this is a perfect recipe that you can spoil your better half in bed. Breakfast in bed, that sounds pretty good to me. And with this egg on toast, we're going to be topping it with some freshly made pesto, and we'll be making it from scratch. So stay tuned if you want to learn how to do it all by hand without any equipment. So before we get into the recipe, if you like food, if you are passionate about not destroying our earth, that is kind of the two main messages I'd like to convey. If that is something that you're passionate about, give the video a like and consider sharing this video with your friends and family. That will really help YouTube promote my video and really bring a positive impact to our society. Thank you so much for doing that, and let's get cooking. So here we go, another egg on toast video. Not just any eggs though, we're making son-in-law eggs. To start off, we're going to need some bread. I got some homemade sourdough, which you can find the link to the recipe in the top right corner there. Homemade bread doesn't just give you the most flavorful bread ever, but also it's a really good way to save on some food cost. Obviously, we'll need some eggs to make today's recipe. With pesto being the topping of our egg on toast today, I've got some basil I harvested from my local community garden. We'll talk more about that later. Some garlic, just a couple of cloves. With our nuts component, instead of using the more expensive pine nut, we're subbing it with some almond, and then some citrus. It'll be a zested lemon from my fridge. Not really the most glamorous looking, but gets the job done. Some salt to season, and then we'll need some neutral oil to fry our eggs, and then extra virgin olive oil for our pesto. That's all we need, and we'll get started. To start off, we're going to boil our eggs first. Grab a medium-sized saucepan and load it up with some water. We want just enough water to submerge the eggs when boiling. Pan on stove on medium to high heat until boil. Once the pot of water is rumbling, very gently lower our eggs in. Handle the eggs with care when putting them in boiling water to first, not to burn yourself, and obviously second, not to crack the eggs. Lower the heat and do it with a spoon for maximum safety. Once the eggs are in, we want to set a timer for 5 to 6 minutes. 5 if you want the eggs softer, and 6 if you want firmer egg yolks. To be energy efficient, put a lid on to retain the heat in the pot.
5 minutes later.
Time's up, and time to drain the pot. Hot water out and load the pot up with some cold water to stop the eggs from cooking. Give it a couple of minutes and you're good to take the eggs out and rest. We still want the eggs to be somewhat warm when we dig into them later. While the eggs are doing their thing, we come back to the workbench to make some pesto. First thing first, we're going to pinch the basil off the stem. These sweet basil are everywhere in my local community garden. I couldn't help myself but pinch some while they're in season. And the cherry on top is, they are 100% free. We just want to snap up the basil leaves and leave the stems behind for a smoother consistency. Since they are from a community garden, I'm just going to rinse these off for hygiene purposes. Now the basil leaves are washed. We leave them alone for a bit to drain off the excess liquid while we work on the rest. So we're using a mortar and pestle today to make our pesto. However, you can use a food processor or blender to achieve a similar outcome. I like mortar and pestle because the pounding action brings out a lot of flavor, and there's just less to clean. Instead of using pine nuts, which is delicious but freaking expensive, almond is a much more budget-friendly option, which is what we're using today. We're talking like 50 to 70 bucks versus 20 to 25 per kilo difference. Grab equal amount of almond in weight to our basil. The handful of basil is about 25 grams, so here I chuck in 25 grams of almond. 2 cloves of garlic. Garlic can be quite strong and we don't want it to be overpowering the entire sauce, so be gentle with our garlic. And then we'll start pounding. Crush the nuts and kick the balls. Sorry, that's a different kind of nuts. Pound our almond and garlic until it turns into a thick-ish paste texture. Next, we're adding the basil that we just washed. All of them. Resume our pounding motion and we want to bring out as much of the oil compound in basil as possible. This is something I find food processor or blender lacking. They are fast but just missing some authenticity. In the end, we should be getting a paste-like kind of texture, like what you can see here. Isn't it gorgeous? Next step, some good extra virgin olive oil to lubricate it up. Add in a good 30 grams to start with, and then we want some lemon juicing. Squeeze a lemon with one hand and use the other one to catch the sneaky seeds and keep them out of our pesto. Now mix it all up and adjust the thickness of your pesto to your liking by adding more olive oil. A pinch of salt to season. In the end, this is the kind of texture or thickness I like to have as shown on the screen here. For today's dish though, I want something that I can drizzle over the eggs. So I took a small portion out and added a bit more olive oil to make it even thinner. Something like this. Now back to our eggs. At this point, the eggs should be still warm, but not so hot that your fingers can't hold them. Crack the shell all over and gently peel the shell off. The key is to make sure every millimeter of the eggshell is to be crushed for easy peeling. Rinse the eggs one more time to wash off any of the residual micro shells. Son-in-law eggs requires frying the boiled eggs, and we all know that water droplets and deep frying is a recipe for disaster. Notice here, I'm using a piece of old microfiber towel. To me, it is so important to be intentional. All we're doing here is to take away the water droplets on the surface of our eggs and nothing else. Instead of using single-use paper towel and straight in the bin, a piece of clean cloth does the job perfectly, and that is unnecessary waste avoided. Okay, rant over. Next, load up a pot with some neutral oil. I had this not so genius idea thinking that I'm just frying off one egg at a time. So a Turkish coffee pot like this is a perfect size. Turn the stove on medium heat. We know the oil is ready when you see bubbles coming out of the wooden chopstick. Use a spoon and gently lower our eggs in. Hot oil, so be very careful. At this point, I was still thinking that I'm a bloody genius using a coffee pot until this happens. Moral of the story is, make sure that your pot is big enough with enough headroom so oil don't just go overflowing. Fry the eggs for 5 minutes. When it looks like this, it's all good to go. The crunchy golden skin of the eggs just screams happiness to me. Now it's time to plate up. Grab some toast and chuck it on a plate. I'm very upset with myself that I forgot to turn the B-roll camera on to capture the egg cutting footage. So you just have to put up with this zoomed in rubbish and take my words for it. They are pretty amazing. 2 half eggs on the toast with yolks facing up. And then the pesto we made from scratch with our bare hands. Drizzle some of the oil around the toast to jazz it up. Some flaky salt, and that's it. Easy, but not so simple. The cost breakdown is as below. One slice of homemade sourdough is about 6 cents. Basil from the community garden is free. 50 grams of extra virgin olive oil at $5.30 a kilo equals to 26.5 cents. 25 grams of almond at $13 a kilo equals to 32.5 cents. 2 cloves of garlic, let's say 5 cents. 1 egg at $4.20 a dozen equals to 35 cents. Half a lemon at $2.90 a kilo, let's say about 10 cents. Pesto costed us about 74 cents to make. The serve of egg on toast roughly costed us 43 cents to make. Not bad at all. Alright, and there we have it. That is our son-in-law egg done right here. I can't wait to dig in. It's a bit of a twist on the classic egg on toast. Right now it's summer, it's bloody hot, and that just means basils are going crazy. It makes a whole lot of sense to pinch some basils from our community garden and turn them into these delicious pesto. I'm going to dig in and just let you know how it tastes like. When it comes to breakfast, you just can't go wrong with the classic egg on toast. The crispy skin that we added to the eggs just added extra layer, makes it more complex, and the pesto with a really generous amount of lemon that we added to it. It just leaves a whole dish up, make it so much more refreshing and make it summer friendly, if that makes any sense to you. One of these, if you go out and get it from a cafe, easily costs you $18 to $20 with a coffee on top. 25 bucks. If it's 2 of you, that is 50 bucks easily spent at a cafe. I'm all for supporting local and small businesses, but when it comes to saving money, these things really don't take a lot of effort and doesn't cost a lot to make at home. I hope you learned something from today's video. If you did, give the video a like and consider subscribing. I have these budget-friendly recipes coming out every 2 weeks. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.